Just ridden to the top, get rid of some dust. Billy Goat Bluff. Here comes Brow.
Of all the questions I get asked about my high country tour, probably the most popular is, are we going to get to ride Billy Goat Bluff? Now, Billy Goat Bluff is famous, probably one of the top 5 tracks in the Victorian high country. What makes it famous is just how tough it is to drive up or down, or to ride up or down. For the sake of this discussion, I'll talk about riding up it. You start at Wonnangatta Road, and it's 3 kilometres to the HELIPAD with a 440 metre elevation. From Wonnangatta Road all the way to the top is about 9 kilometres. For the ride that I just did, or I will be showing you, it's 7 kilometres and the elevation is 1080 metres. The steepest gradient is 27 degrees with the overall average gradient 11.25 degrees. I've ridden Billy Goat Bluff a number of times. My first time was on a 36 degree day in the summer of 2018. My DRZ was fully loaded with camping gear, and by the time I reached the bottom my brakes were almost non-existent. We've taken a Triumph Tiger 800 down it in the rain and fog. While we did eventually get there, the Triumph had plenty of scars as a reminder of the journey. In the past 4 years, what I've noticed about the track is just how bad it is getting. It's much harder to ride than it was back in 2018, which I'm not complaining about. I think the toughness of the track is all part of its charm. And because of its popularity, it's inevitable. You will come across 4-wheel drives, either coming up or going down, which always makes for interesting overtaking manoeuvres. I thought it'd be interesting to show a climb in its entirety from Wonnangatta Road all the way to the top. Well, not quite to the top, probably half a kilometre short of the top, but certainly to my favourite part of Billy Goat's Bluff. Unedited, although there are a few times we stopped at the HELIPAD and one other time to wait for Chris on the Tenere 700. So what you're seeing here is myself riding my DRZ 400. I'm following Chris on a Tenere 700, and behind me is Ian, I call him Brow, that's his nickname, on a KTM 690. This is from a recent tour. We rode across the base of Billy Goat Bluff, and we gave everyone the opportunity to ride up it. Everyone made the HELIPAD, and quite a few got a distance beyond it, but Brow and myself were the only two that made it all the way to the top. What you'll see is a nice dusty day, a beautiful day, probably 24 degrees at this point, and it's about 10 o'clock in the morning. And by the time we got to the top, we'd worked up a sweat. It is hard work, it's relentless. This is the helipad. Awesome views from here. You can see the track up ahead of us. We stopped there for about 15 seconds just to wait for Chris to catch up. He was doing an awesome job on the Tenere 700. Not a light bike. And it was a warm day and the track's loose. It's just about committing. As with many parts of this track, there are large sections of loose rocks. Here's a tip: try and stay on the bigger rocks, not the loose stuff, because I just paid the penalty of losing momentum. And sometimes it's a bit difficult to get going. I know the camera never tells you how steep it actually is, but right here, it was steep. we're just approaching my favourite part of Billy Goat Bluff. Right on the ridge, the views are endless, and there's a nice little spot up here where a lot of people park, obviously to take in the view. And from the bottom to this point, it took roughly 14 minutes. And to give you an idea, a 4x4 can take an hour to an hour and a half to get up because they're just travelling so slowly, just crawling up over the rocks. It's much better doing it on a bike. Here comes Brow, just doing the final part of the journey. Chris on the Tenere did a bloody great job. He didn't quite make it, but was probably only 500 metres short of that part. So if you're ever in the area of Billy Goat Track, do yourself a favour and ride or climb in a four-wheel drive as far as you can go, take in the view and tick another one off your bucket list.